Okay, I'm gonna jump on and start, and at least kind of walk through what I'm trying to show off here. I will be checking on YouTube on the live chat, so if you do have questions, feel free to ask. The type of work I'm gonna be doing has lots of long pauses, so questions would be great, even if they're not like directly on what I'm talking about. I think it would still be really helpful, and it would kill a lot of time, and that would be great. So let me talk about what it is that I'm going to be doing. I don't know. Let me see there. All right. I'm going to work on specifically setting up compute engine, managed instance groups, and a load balancer. And I'm going to give some context around why I'm doing this. So I have an app that I use to demonstrate some of our various computing tools' ability to handle load. If any of you have seen me present before, it basically is. It usually turns into me cackling while DDoSing an App Engine app. But I've kind of modified the app going forward to kind of show, basically it's more experimental at this point. I just want to see how these different platforms handle different amounts of load. So the app consists of a couple parts. One is the visualizer, the part that both allows me to interact and drive traffic, and also see the results. That's an App Engine app. And then I have a generator which generates load that's going to send at these various platforms to see how they handle that traffic, and that's a series of compute engine running Apache Bench in a container to drive load. So basically, I have a containerized setup for Apache Bench. So I have it in a Docker container, and I take advantage of compute engine's ability to just you can just shove a container image at it, and it'll just spin up a whole VM to run just that container image. I don't know. I haven't delved into how efficient that is, or how is that something I want to do in production? But it is a really fast and easy way of getting stuff set up really fast. So take that for what it's worth. And then let's see. After the generator, there's a receiver, and that's the part that shows that's the special sauce of this. It's the part that shows the whatever environment you're in. Scaling. So I have a couple platforms that I've built the receiver out on: Kubernetes Engine, Cloud Run, and App Engine. And going forward, if I say GKE, I mean Kubernetes Engine, so basically each one of these has different scaling abilities. Cloud Run and App Engine are serverless, so in theory, I don't need to scale them. Kubernetes Engine is not serverless. It is the opposite of serverless in that you have to manage a lot of pieces of the infrastructure. And so I wanted to see, basically how I could get load working on these different platforms. So I have these three environments working, and I'll show this off in a second. And then after all this goes into a memory store. Database. On a cache, memory store cache. It's Redis, and it holds all the information about all of the bits of traffic that have come in. So it allowed me to get the metrics on each load burst that I send. And then memory store is read into the visualizer, so they can actually see those differences. And so what we're going to focus on today is adding this part where I want to add a fourth platform here, which is compute engine. And if anybody has any questions on why I'm doing this the way I am, please feel free to ask. I don't know if any of this is clear or not, so please feel free to bug me about it in the live chat. All right, so what do I need to do? Oh, let me demo this first so you guys see. So you all see what I'm doing. So here we see my 10. I have 10 machines set up to drive load. I have my endpoints that I can send load at. I'm going to show it off running to App Engine, and I'm going to send just 1,000 requests. And we can see in real time, this is App Engine spinning up instances in order to service that traffic. And we see that it handled all 1,000 requests and did it really kind of quick. And this app is I'm still writing this app, so there's a lot of refreshing instead of stuff just working automatically. So I'm now going to repeat this, and I'm going to send load at Cloud Run. And we'll see that Cloud Run also handled the traffic. But interestingly enough, it handled it in a very, very different way. You'll see that App Engine spun up a lot of very equal, or like handling large chunks of this traffic, and then it had a couple outliers that just did one. Whereas Cloud Run, like my first instance, was able to handle almost all of the traffic, but then it spun up a bunch of a number of smaller instances in order to handle the rest of the traffic. And then finally, I'm going to do GKE. Nope, that is wrong. Crap. I just sent a significantly more amount, so it won't actually be that helpful. So let me refresh real quick. And I'll real quick do these experiments again. So I'll send App Engine, and then set down to 1,000, and then send. Oh, interesting. All right, I broke my demo, which is okay. I know how it broke, so I can. So I know how to fix it. So hold on a sec. Oh, there we go. They're back. All right. So we're gonna hit Cloud Run, send 1,000. Well, that's interesting. Cloud Run's pattern was very different this time. It only sent to a few instances. That makes sense. It was probably there were a number of instances still resident after that last request. So great. And then let's finish up with GKE here and send load. And there we go. So very different patterns for how they're handling traffic. Although Cloud Run and App Engine look very similar now. When Cloud Run was first bursting up, it had like a lot of traffic being handled by one instance, and then a whole bunch of smaller instances. And then you'll see here at GKE handles that traffic by splitting it up pretty uniformly. And that's just because whereas App Engine and Cloud Run are reactive, right? In theory, there aren't instances running, and then you throw traffic at it and it spins up a whole bunch of stuff. With GKE, I had to have a whole bunch of machines running at once, a whole bunch of instances already running. And while I could add a horizontal load balancer, and I've been playing around, not a horizontal load balancer, horizontal pod autoscaler, sorry. I could add some auto scaling, but I haven't played around with it much past just sort of setting it up and seeing if it will work. Most of them, especially the horizontal pod autoscaler, requires you to have traffic over a long period, like basically have resource usage over a long period of time in order to get information about it. Okay, so as I said here, we're going to add a fourth environment, which is Compute Engine. We're going to see if we can get it to work and what its scale looks like. So our checklist, what do we need to do in order to make this happen? Well, the first thing I need to do is get the load receiver working on Compute Engine. And I did that yesterday, and I wasn't going to do that live, mostly because it's programming. It was definitely like fixing some bugs, making sure it worked, changing the configurations around. It was more development than it was systems, which is why I tried to keep focused on here. So that was the first part, and it was the biggest part for me that like it could work, it might not work, so I didn't want to do it live to be embarrassed by stuff not working for the whole time. And then once I get a working copy of the thing working on Compute Engine, I really had to move to the next step, which was getting it into a disk image. So then that was the second thing I did. So now I'm going to go through the next couple steps, which is one, I need to create a template for my managed instance group. After I create that template, I need to create a managed instance group from that template. And then I need to create a load balancer with a specific IP, one that I've already set aside. because I've written it into a whole bunch of the code. And then finally, I want to hook up the load balancer to the managed instance group and then test the visualizer to see if I can get all this to work. So let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is create a template for the managed instance group. Now, it's important to note here that I already created my receiver, my image. So I have a receiver image. I got this up working yesterday. It's all working. So that's what I'm going to use. Basically, and I can just show off the code here real quick, just to kind of see what we're doing here. So I have a Go file, Go app that basically just listens for a request, and you'll see that it listens on this this endpoint record. So it's going to record anything any traffic that goes to record, it's going to record. And all it does basically is write to a Redis cache. You'll see that I have all the stuff to hook up to Redis to interact with it, and we're all set to go. I didn't really have to do anything to get this working with Compute Engine, which was really kind of a nice relief. Because I was coming from the serverless platforms with Memory Store, which is what our Redis product is. You have to set up a serverless VPC to get the two products to talk to one another. You don't have to do that with Compute Engine. As long as they're in the same project, they'll talk to one another, which was nice. So it was like just use it like I would any other Redis host, which was great. I just need the IP and the port. It was all set to go. Okay, so that's what's running. Again, I have this one Go file. It listens for traffic and records the traffic to Redis. Nothing too crazy. Okay, so what I want to do now is create an instance template. So the way managed instance groups work is that you have a template, and that template is used to generate machines when our systems are managing your instance groups. So I'm just going to go ahead and start it so we can kind of see what's going on here. So we're going to create an instance template. All right, so we're going to call this receiver template to match what I've been calling this app elsewhere. So now I need a machine configuration. I've been running this app on a Docker container with very few resources on my own machine, and a lot of low resource use cases. So I probably want to keep my box here as small as possible. Now you'll see that we have a whole number of series of machine types, I don't have a strong feeling. My guess is that the first generation is probably cheaper. And I don't need a tremendous amount of resources. So I'm going to go with... Oh, actually, I can go even with an F1 micro. That might be, from a cost perspective. And again, I'm part of the balance of all these scale apps is that you got to figure out whether or not it's cost effective. So I'm going to go with the cheapest machine we have, which is the F1 micro instance here. Okay, so we have a number of services around confidential VM, like basically security services and encryption services. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I'm also not going to deploy a container image to this instance, although I can. And then my boot disk, I'm going to change to a custom image. And we're going to select it from the app, the project I'm in. There we go. Which is Carnival. Yep. And we're going to go with receiver image. And I'm just going to stick with standard persistent disk and the 200 gigs. For what I'm doing, I don't really need SSD because there's really not a lot of I/O. There's no I/O. It's just network. And so yeah, I can just leave that be the way it is. Let's see. Do I want these? Yes, I do want these ports. So I do want to open up the firewall for HTTP. Ideally, I would be more responsible and write all this stuff with HTTPS. I did not. It's basically just using HTTP for a number of reasons, but mostly one around my laziness around setting up certificates, and that this isn't a production service. And so I think we're all okay with this not being a production service. I don't think I need to do anything else here for my instance template, but what I am going to do before I hit create is down to the bottom here I have this equivalent raster command line. I always grab this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and copy, and then I have a makefile in receiver, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new makefile step. Which is, let's see, we're going to call it instance, we're going to call it template. Okay, now this is way too long for the line, so I'm going to go ahead and start adding line breaks to it. The reason I do this is because I like to make, I'm going to share this project via GitHub, and I want other people to be able to use it. And I don't like writing documentation, and so a makefile says, like, instead of me saying go to the UI and do this, then do this, then do this, you can just run the makefile, and all the G cloud commands are there. So looking at this, I generally tend not to add the scopes. The default are usually good enough for this. Network tiers, premium, that's fine. Network projects, that's all fine. I'm going to get rid of this because that'll default properly, and I don't want to have my project name in there. Same thing with this service account. I don't want that in there. That'll be done properly. Let's see, the boot device name, that's fine. No shielded secure boot, that's fine. Shielded VTM, shielded integra reservation. Okay, so this is good, and I can run this, but I'm just gonna close and create this in the UI, and so that's going to take a couple minutes. So while we're waiting for that instance template to be done, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to stick it in the live chat. Oh no, it's done. Never mind. No questions. No time. All right, so great. We have our instance template, and now we want to set up an instance group. So again, an instance group is a number of machines that our systems will run depending on a whole bunch of parameters you set up, and I'll kind of take us through a whole bunch of those parameters. But I'm going to go ahead and create the instance group. And we're going to call this receiver group. Okay. Yes, for higher availability, I can run it in a different zone, but for my purposes, I don't want to muddle what I'm trying to do with running over multiple zones, so I'm just going to leave everything default. And you'll see that instant template, I need to add one, so I'm going to add the receiver template, so all of that should be good. Let's see, auto scale. Yep, we want to auto scale, auto scaling metrics, CPU utilization to 60. I'm actually going to set this just a little lower, mostly because I have no idea how much CPU this is going to take up. So, predictive auto scaling. Use predictive auto scaling to predict future capacity needs based on historical load. That's kind of cool. But you need to have been running for at least 5 days, so that's fine. That's awesome, though. That's a feature. One of the great things is I go through and I find features that I didn't know were there before. So cooldown period. So how long it takes for an app to initialize from boot time until it's ready to serve. It doesn't take any time at all. So I just want to make sure that I can set it really low. Scaling out. Yeah, I don't want to delay scaling out. But it really doesn't, like, it's a Go app, right? So it's not, like Go as opposed to Java, right? Where Java needs to spin up the VM and maybe get machine code running. With Go, it's just an executable that it spins up and it goes. So my startup time should really not be. The minimum cooldown period is 15. So I'm going to set it to 15. All right, minimum number of instances versus maximum number of instances. So for this, my minimum, so basically after I set this up, Compute Engine, the system here, is going to make sure that I'm always running some number n of VMs. And that number is a number between the minimum and the maximum. Honestly, in a lot of cases, I would probably set my min to 1 for experiments or trivial things. Even though I work for Google, so I don't pay for any of this directly myself. I try to be cost conscious, and also I try to match what customers would want to do. In a real production service, I would probably set this to a minimum of 3, and then. But for my purposes right now, I think I'm going to set it to 3 like it was a real production service. I'm going to set my maximum to 20. I don't think this would ever go that high, but whatever. Let's see. Scale in controls. Interesting. I have never played with these, so I'm going to leave that be. We're going to leave that. So auto healing. There is a health check, but I don't have it configured yet. So we'll do that later. So this seems all correct. This is kind of what I'd want for my VM group. So I have the template already, and I have this. So I'm going to go ahead and first off, I'm going to grab the command line. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my make file. And so this is instance group. Okay, and you'll see this is 2 commands. So I'm going to go through and edit this again. I don't need to hold on to the project name because I have a step here called env. But if I add it to these, we'll make sure that the project is set. Instance groups manage, create receiver group, base instance name. Okay, this is just all naming information so that all the machines are going to start with receiver group and some random string. The template I'm using, the size. Interesting. So it starts with size 1, which makes sense. Okay. And then let's see, gcloud beta compute. This is hopefully the auto scaling directive. Yep. Set auto scaling on receiver group, zone, cooldown period. Yep, all this works. Okay. All right, so we're going to save that, and we're going to close that, and we're going to go ahead and create this. Now this should take a moment. So now I highly encourage anybody, if they have questions, please ask in the chat. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bunch of dead air. But then again, I can go ahead and just edit this out later. So that works. Okay, so you can see here in the interface that receiver group is going from 0 to 3. And it's going to take time for it to set up. One thing I'll say, if anyone is not, if there's problems with the live chat or something, you can always ping me on Twitter, and I will get a notification about that. So, all right, I will just now stare awkwardly, as I don't really have much to say right now while I'm waiting for this to run. I guess actually what I could do is switch over and start to do the stuff with the load balancer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so load balancing. So you'll see here that I have the ability to create a load balancer, and I have a couple different options. I have HTTP load balancing, TCP load balancing, and UDP load balancing. And I like that they added this. They basically have added the idea that HTTPS load balancing is layer 7, TCP and UDP are layer 4. It's nice that we now have like a kind of a easy to compare, easy to label from industry, the rest of the industry, what our load balancers are. I'm just going to double check that this is still spinning up. So we might get stuck at some point in here because the managed instance group isn't set up. I'm going to go ahead and start the configuration. Let's see. Do I want this internet facing or internal only? No, I want this to be internet facing. Actually, let me think about that. So the only traffic that these nodes should get are from other Google products, or specifically from App Engine. However, a lot of times when I'm troubleshooting and testing this demo and try to get it to work, I do go directly to these machines. So I am going to point out that I should make this only internal facing, but I don't. In this case, I'm going to open it up to the internet. I'm also not going to leave all this stuff open for very long. Probably after I'm done recording this, I'll shut everything down so the IP addresses get released and it's not these anymore. How are we doing on our instance group? We're still spinning up. Let's see what this interface looks like. It's been a while since I've looked at it. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, cool. This is actually great. So let's go ahead and let's make our HTTP load balancer here. So we're going to call the load balancer receiver LB because I am not very creative. Okay. Oh. We're going to create the backend configuration. So we're going to create a backend service. We're going to create a backend service because we don't see one listed yet. And we're going to call this receiver service. And the backend is an instance group, correct. And it's HTTP, timeout is 30. The instance group that we're going to point to is receiver. And the port number is 80. Balancing mode is utilization. That's fine. That's fine. I could tweak all of these levers, but I'm not going to because I don't really, I don't know enough about everything to get this working. So I'm just going to say done to that. Health check. I can create a health check. We're going to call it receiver health check. Proxy protocol request response. Okay. My health check doesn't require anything. I am sort of worried that it doesn't ask for a URL, but let's see. Interesting. So hopefully that'll work. We'll find out, right? Part of what we're doing here. All right. So that creates the backend service. And then we're going to create the host and path rules. So we want a simple host and path rules. That's fine. Yeah. This is all fine. I don't want to... Basically, any path, I just wanted to pass it along. Yeah. So I could set up, if I wanted to listen to custom subdomains, I could, or sorry, custom subdirectories. I could set this up here, but I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to send all of the traffic that comes into the front end to the back end and let the back end handle it. So that's that. And then front end. Okay, so we need HTTP, and we're going to call this receiver front end. And I'm going to set it on premium. You don't have to. The IP address, I actually have one already for it. GCE load. I'm going to use that one. Done. All right. All of this is all set up. So I'm going to go ahead and create and see what happens. Now, this takes a fair amount of time to get working. So, and I'm fairly certain this is the new one, right? No, this is another one I had running there. Okay, so we can go here. You can see when this is working. Okay, so that's going to take a minute or two. So I'm going to go over and type stuff in chat. Hey, anyone there? So yeah, if you have questions, please feel free. Otherwise, we'll just sit here staring at each other. Oh, wow. Okay, so all of this is faster than it used to be, which is great. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this IP address. And okay, so this isn't, so I got a 404, which is fine. You might ask, why is that fine? Because it takes a while for the load balancer to set up. So I'm not immediately discouraged by that. But what I am going to do is my instance group seems to be running. Oh, here's a good thing. I can go ahead and test. Okay, so the individual nodes are working, which is great. So I know basically whenever you go to root on them, it goes to a health check. So that's working good. So great. So that's working. And the receiver group is all working fine. Okay. What did I also have to do? I should have set up a health check, right? At some point. Health check. Ah. Interesting. Let's create a health check. But I already have one. Why isn't it showing up in the list? Unless I'm going through it so fast I can't see it. Or if it's at the bottom of the interface here, but I don't think so. Yeah, alright. I'm going to create another health check. We're going to call it receiver IG health check. Okay. Interesting. Alright, we'll save and continue that. Okay. So let's see here. Let's hit refresh. Auto healing needs to be configured to get instances health. Right, but I've done that, right? Unless it didn't take. Oh yeah, no health check. There we go. Oh, okay, now they're there on that list. All right, I'm just gonna add receiver HC, the original one that I made. Uh-oh. 0% healthy. Okay, why make that a URL? Why make that a link if you won't do anything when I click it? Sorry, I guess I'm not supposed to complain about our products like that. Alright, we're refreshing that. And we're going to see if the load balancer is up yet. It's not. Okay, well that's discouraging. Now everything's broken. They're working just fine. I don't understand why the health check isn't working. Okay. So, I would hope my blank stare and quiet makes you know that I don't know what's going on right now. So I'm going to refresh again. All right. Great. So you're not healthy. We can look at the well, maybe I do want to set up logs then, right? That's fine. All right, let's see if the load balancer. Well, okay. So the load balancer probably isn't working. Okay, yeah. Because the load balance, because this is reporting as unhealthy, that's probably interfering with the load balancer service. Would be my guess. Yeah. All right. So here's the thing I'm not understanding. Why? Okay, great. Why is this coming up unhealthy? So, all right, what I want to look up is the health checks. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this extra one that I made because I don't need it. Okay. So let's go through. It is... Oh, there we go. It's HTTP. There we go. So if I look back at the code, the health check works on / because this is the health handler. And if I look at the health handler, all it does is return OK. But also it listens at health Z. And I kind of like having it there at health Z just because I feel like that's much more... the intention of what I'm trying to do is a lot more clear. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Takes a little bit of time. All right. So let's go back to our instance groups. Let's go back to receiver group. And they're all healthy. Great. Now that they're healthy, this should be healthy. And this should work. Okay, great. So everything is working here. The load balancer group is set up. It's answering on the load balancer, and yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. So I'm going to go back to my visualizer here and see. We can even see that it's already registered. So it's already registered in the back end. So I'm just going to go and send 1,000 hits at it and see what happens. Huh. Yeah. All right. It handled it almost immediately. Cool. All right. Like the stunned look on my face is that all of this is working and working exactly as I thought it would the first time, except with the minor glitches around the health checks. So that's great. So cool. So I now have a service that runs on multiple VMs, and you can see we have multiple instances of the code set up. Although I'm a little bit confused because let me see. Platform. How many VMs do I have? I have 20 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, okay, no, that matches up. All right. So, interesting. All right. Well, how much load? All right. Now I have a whole bunch of things I can ask and answer. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this. And I'm going to send another 1,000 hits at GCE. And whoa, okay, only 3 of the nodes were needed to handle it. So we're going to reset it again. I'm going to take it to 10,000. See what happens when I hit load at it. Wow, only 3 nodes handled all. Okay, we're waiting. Okay. All right, now we're seeing a little bit of a hiccup. Oh, I know what happened. Okay. All right. So the minimum was 3 and the maximum was 20. And when everything was failing, it immediately spun up to 20 in order to handle the failing event. But once I got it all working, it realized it only needed 3, and so it is sending them. It's killing them. Okay, that all makes perfect sense to me now. But what's interesting is now that it's a smaller group, it doesn't seem to be able to handle 10,000 requests at a time, which is not super shocking. Oh. Uh-oh. Well, let's reset. Let me make sure this is working. We're going to send some traffic to App Engine. Send load. Okay, App Engine is handling it just fine. All right. So cool. Also, it's dropped out of the list here, which I can fix pretty quickly. Just say register. Oh, interesting. It's broken again. So it was working, and now it is broken. What did I do? Let's see. Let's refresh this. Weird. Okay. I still stand by what I think was happening there, which was that it's spinning down. Yeah, weird. Okay, so I am sure there are some settings or something that I am just missing. Although the load balancer here is saying there are problems. So let me see. Healthy 17 out of 20. Huh. What happens if I do this now? What happens if I just do the health check? Nothing. Okay. Interesting. So I had it working for a minute, and then it stopped. So I'm going to quit while I'm slightly ahead. Obviously, there is some problem with the managed instance group that I am not ready for, but I did have it running, and it was running just fine. And yeah, we see it. So all of this makes sense. All right. Clearly I set something up so it doesn't handle this gracefully, so I will need to figure that out. But in the meantime, I'm going to stop. So I'm going to turn back to the live stream and say if anybody has any questions, I would really appreciate that. I'm going to give it like a minute for a question, and if I don't see if I don't see a question, I'm going to stop and be happy with what we have here. All right. Well, thanks for checking this out. I'm going to probably edit this and put a cleaner version of it online permanently. And thanks for your time. If you have any questions, you can feel free to, reach out to me on Twitter. And with that, I'll say thanks.